Hi, friends. It is Monday, April the 20th, and welcome to English class. I'm hoping that you had a nice weekend. I'm hoping that you appreciated that I didn't dump another writing assignment on you on Friday. And I'm hoping that you're staying up to date with assignment number 5. I know that that was a long one, but I'm excited to see what you come back with when you're talking about what global catastrophe and pandemics brings out in people in your own observations and how you connect to literature in that way. I don't know, I could get used to teaching this way. I mean, I miss you. I miss talking to you. I miss having the back and forth. It's something I really enjoy, but I don't know, teaching with my bare feet and I don't know, I haven't straightened my hair in a month. It's kind of a sweet gig. So, but then again, I'm also homeschooling my children. And so if you have small ones at home and you're trying to navigate the world of Google Classroom and Zoom meetings, man, my heart goes out to you because this is a strange time for education, right? Okay, but let's stay focused on our education and getting through this class. We are almost there, guys. It's the middle of April now. We're going to learn all the way through May. My intention is that we're going to be done learning May 29th. So I need you to stay in this for just a few more weeks. It's going to be worth it. You have put your lives on hold in order to get this credit, in order to come back to Aurora College. Most of you have been working really hard all year long. Those of you who are just joining me, you are here for a reason. So let's see what we can do to get through this extraordinary piece of writing. I mean, we have to be doing learning, at least for reading an amazing book like the Marrow Thieves. So stay with me. Don't give up yet. I promise you that I'm going to try to make this as painless as possible and try to make this as personal as possible so we can actually take this opportunity of not having a diploma exam to be able to do what I think is more meaningful learning in lots of ways rather than just practicing for the test. Okay, so I hope that you're enjoying this book. I think it's remarkable. I love the way that it's written. And so I'm hoping that you're into it. I'm hoping that you want to share this book with other people. I'm hoping that you're enjoying Cherie Demeling's writing style. So let's do a quick screen share and I want to show you some different things. So the first thing that we're going to do is I want to talk to you about the Yellowknife Public Library or the Northwest Territories Public Library Systems. As you know, of course, we went on a tour of the public library before all this crazy pandemic stuff started. And the lovely people there gave us a good tour of what the online services look like. But it's been a while. And so I just want to remind you of the amazing things on that webpage and how it can help you to find things like more novels by Cherie Demeling. So even if you're in another community, they're all linked together throughout the Northwest Territories. So the easiest way to find the webpage is to go to the Yellowknife Public Library website, just by Googling that. And we're just going to go to Public Library, the very first link that comes up. Click. And so off to the left-hand side is the actual programming and all of the different information that you need. What I'd like to do, though, is scroll down here and, of course, remind you, no surprise, that the public library is closed. That doesn't mean that you can't access their services, though. So it says here that the city encourages residents to use their library cards to access the Yellowknife Public Library's ebook and Lynda library resources. Library card holders can access these from home. How? Even if you don't have a library card right now, you can still get one. All you have to do is call this number right here or email library@yellowknife.ca. Even if you're in another community, they can help you at this number or this email address. And so let's take a look at, for example, their audio and ebooks. My kids have been chewing through these, using their like tablets and stuff and using my computer. And so I, for example, can't keep up with my kids' love of Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Have I mentioned that I hate that series? Like, I think it's terrible, but my 8-year-old loves it. It is what it is, and I don't want to go off and spend $1 billion on these really expensive books. So luckily, almost all of them are on their ebook and their audiobook learning series. So I'm going to click on audio and ebooks, and it takes me to this one right here. Now, if you're using an iPhone or an iPad or any sort of smartphone device, the app that you can download is called Libby. Libby. However, there's also a link here if you're using a computer. So I'm going to click on Overdrive and Libby. There's also lots of other amazing ways of getting free resources, especially if you're supplementing kids' education. Check it out. But we're going to check out Overdrive and Libby. So this is where you need to have a library card and you need to have a PIN number. So you may need to contact the library if you don't have this information. So for example, if you have one of these guys, this one's my daughter's card, I am going to, first of all, move my face. I'm going to click on sign in. That's where I put in the card number that's underneath the barcode. I also need a 4-digit PIN number. That's something that I created with the librarian when I was on site. So you can either email them or call them and they'll give you a PIN number. So I'm just going to sign in to this website. It is so easy to use. My kids sign out and return their books all on their own, even my 6-year-old, and so it works really well. So there's lots of different levels of reading. And again, you can get it at the App Store, Google Play, Microsoft. There are cookbooks, there are read-along stories, there are picture books. There's all of the Dog Man, which my kids absolutely love, and I actually think is really smart writing. I like Dave Pilkey. Good stuff. There are young adult titles, junior graphic novels, adult graphic novels. I mean, all of it's out there. It's a pretty amazing thing. If you're not really sure what you're interested in, you can always go to collections and then see you're looking for an ebook or an audiobook. You can say, hey, what's popular? What's out there? So I really recommend going to the public library webpage. Specifically, what if you say, hey, friends, I'm reading this amazing book called The Marrow Thieves right now. You should read it too. Bookstores are all closed. Libraries closed. Here's how your friends or family can read this book as well. So I'm just going to click on search, super easy, and I'm going to put in Shri Dimmaline. And here we go. So as you can see, the public library has available 2 different titles. They don't have an audiobook for The Marrow Thieves. Unfortunately, it hasn't been made yet. And I want to like rattle her cage and say, please, please do an audiobook. I love this. Although I've heard it's either going to be turned into a movie or a mini series. So maybe that's why. Anyway, so there is an ebook. All you do is click on borrow. It signs out to your device for 21 days and then automatically returns itself. So you don't end up owing any late fees, which is something that always happens to me. I swear I could put my kids through college on what I've paid in late fees. So I don't know if you know this about Shri, but she's also written another book. Now in theory, you should know this because you did a bit of research on her. The other book that she's written is newer. It came out last year, 2019, called Empire of Wild. They have it available as either an audiobook or as an ebook. And it is one heck of a ride, friends. It hasn't gotten the same sort of notoriety as The Marrow Thieves and the same sort of recognition. I think it's partially because it's more of an adult book and YA is super hot right now. Gosh, it's good. So here we go. Let's see if I can make this happen today by showing you a YouTube video. I expect, quite frankly, it's not going to work because I apparently suck at this. And so, yeah, we're going to try to watch this. I wish I could figure out exactly optimize, share for full screen video clip. I don't know. Let's see how we go. I want you to watch this video. It's done by CBC. All I did was put in Empire of Wild, Shri Dimmaline. I'm going to include the link, of course, in the email that I sent to you. Here we go. I'm going to click on it.
Good grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write essays that inspire.
The Marrow Thieves was one of those things that happened and you can't predict it, and I didn't,
Okay, so I want you to watch this whole video, 4 minutes and 28 seconds. I'm going to let it play right through right now.
Had no idea what was going to happen. The awards, Canada Reads. Now we're at 100 weeks, #1 on the bestsellers list for CBC. It was just, it's become a phenomenon, and there was a lot of pressure. I'm Shri Dimmaline. I'm the author of The Marrow Thieves and Empire of Wild. Empire of Wild is the story of a woman named Joan whose husband has gone missing, and she searches frantically for him for over a year, and then she finds him, except that she finds him in a Walmart parking lot in an evangelical missionary tent, and he's going by the name the Reverend Wolf, and he has no memory of her or even of himself. And Joan starts to suspect that the Rougarou might be involved. The Rougarou is a creature from Métis communities who haunts the roads. Empire of Wild is different from the Marrow Thieves in a lot of ways, and in a lot of ways it's similar. They're both based on the stories that I grew up with, the people in my community, the ways that we live and think about the world and about our place in it. But Empire of Wild really was a chance to talk about Indigenous love, specifically about women with agency and autonomy, and who own themselves and have, healthy sex lives and who are just living joy. It's about, the weight of being an Indigenous woman, and that weight, the heaviest weight that we carry is so much abundant love. And so it really was an opportunity to talk about that beautiful brokenness. I talk about community, and I talk about, political issues, resource extraction, but really at its core, it's a traditional story, and it is the story of love. When I'm writing YA, as opposed to adult fiction, the only real difference is this. With YA, you write the way that young people live, which is heart first, complete action. Everything is the best day or the worst day. It's very emotionally driven. And writing for adults, you take a little bit more of a complex view. So your characters philosophize a bit more. You can talk about some bigger issues up front. So I don't really change the language. I don't change the levels. Kids are brilliant. I don't need to sort of dumb anything down or make it simpler. It's just about the emotional tone. And also the sex. I get to talk about sex in adult books. The advice that I would give to emerging writers, especially from Black, Indigenous, and other people of color communities, is stay true to your voice. We desperately need your voice. We desperately need your stories. The best thing you can do is keep reading diverse voices. Just read voraciously, read everything. Do the work, sit down and get it done, and then find a community of storytellers and writers and people who just love you so they can hold you up in those times when it gets a little tiring with the work. Being an Indigenous writer is an absolute gift. In my community, storytellers are considered leaders, so it's a position with a lot of responsibility. It's a blessing because I get to spend time with so many storytellers and their stories, and I get to do that globally now and represent my specific community and my specific story. At the same time, it's really exhausting because, I get on stage or do a presentation and I'm answering questions about the Indian Act and about residential schools and about genocide, whereas writers who are maybe not from marginalized communities just get to talk about plot and character, and I'm always very envious of the ease and energy that they have after events. But again, at the same time, I just wouldn't have it any other way. I don't think I could have it any other way.
So there we go. That is the video that I wanted you to be aware of. Empire of Wild is a really special book. And what I really love about this book is the connection that it has to the next chapter, chapter 7, that we're going to be reading today. Empire of Wild, as she said, is a love story in which her husband goes missing and then returns, and she thinks it's the responsibility of the Rougarou. The Rougarou is a traditional Métis story from the sort of Manitoba, Northern Ontario region. And the Rougarou makes an appearance in chapter 7 of the Marrow Thieves. And I'm gonna leave it to you to read. I think it's an incredible story. I'm interested in what stands out to you about that. So if you're at all interested in reading more by Cherie Dimaline, Empire of Wild is wonderful. She has other books that were published before the Marrow Thieves as well. I haven't read, but I can only imagine they're just as extraordinary. Okay, We'll talk a little bit more about the video I just showed you next class, which is on Wednesday, in which I'm going to tell you about your final unit assignment on the Marrow Thieves, because it's something I want you to start planning and working on very soon. So Wednesday is an important day. You'll want all of the opportunity to stay on top of things, and we'll talk a little bit more about sort of the advice that she offers writers and about the role that she feels that she has in her community as an Indigenous storyteller. Okay, so here is your assignment today. Chapter 7 is called The Four Winds. It's a long chapter. It's one of the longest chapters in this book. It might be my favorite chapter. And it's not because it's filled with heavy ideas. It's not because it's particularly literary in a fancy kind of way. There's other things that I really love about this chapter. So I'm going to keep it simple. The handout is attached to this email. Here's all you have to do. Read chapter 7 and tell me in a couple of short paragraphs a few things that you liked about chapter 7. I want to hear you. I want to hear your opinion, your voice, and of course, always refer back to specific details in the book to help me understand what you mean. So here's an example. I really liked how Shri Demaline talked in that little interview that we just watched about how she loves writing YA because she likes to write the way young people live. And I see that in Frenchie. Frenchie isn't a particularly deep or well-developed character in a lot of ways, but I don't think he needs to be, because quite frankly, he's what, a 16-year-old boy, and he's just figuring it all out. But he does, in chapter 7, have a very emotionally driven experiences. So for example, there's this moment when they're standing in front of an electrified fence, or what used to be an electrified fence. And they're trying to decide how to get beyond this fence. And there's this moment, I don't want to give away too much, when Frenchie experiences intense fear about that choice and what he's going to do. And I love that the way that she writes his fear and about how she describes those feelings. So then I talk about some of my favorite phrases. I also really love how Mig then talks to him after that incident, and Frenchie is filled with a sense of shame. And I love the way that that shame is described. For example, I'm going to give you a couple details from the story. I also really like in this chapter the description of sex, because there is a naughty, but in an appropriate teenager kind of sexual way, scene in that book in which he and Rose end up in bed together. And it's very innocent in many ways, but there's a description of Frenchie getting an erection that I think is fantastic. And so that sexual desire that he's feeling for her, I think is incredibly well written. And then the frustration that he feels afterwards when that isn't realized. And so I think I like about this chapter the way that they describe, or the way that she describes Frenchie's emotions. What do you like about this chapter? When I say a few, I mean, give me 3 if you can find them. Give me 2 really good ones if that's all you have. What do you like about it? What do you like about the way that it's written, some of the stories within the story, maybe some description, maybe the way that a character is talking to each other, or I don't know, anything you want. Even if this isn't your cup of tea, even if you're not loving this book, I can't see how it's possible, but even if you're not loving this book, you've got to admire things about this chapter. So I would love to give you all of the things I love about it, but I'm going to sit on those things and let you do that. That's your assignment. It's super short and easy. You can see the handout. You can find the link to the YouTube video. The big assignment is getting issued on Wednesday, so make sure you tune in. As always, if you have any questions or concerns or expressions of outrage, you can always message me, send me a text, whatever you need. I hope everybody's doing well, and we will talk again soon.